During our conversation on this episode, Lisa shares from the most compassionate place as a one-time driven leader in technology herself that experienced burnout and continued to work from her hospital bed even though she thought she was having a heart attack. So, how do you really keep yourself from burnout as a driven leader? Her answer may surprise you, so stick around. Welcome to the Leading with Audacious Confidence podcast. Our mission for the show is to support leaders who are climbing that ladder of success with warnings, practical tips, and techniques from leadership experts to highlight not just what it takes to be a leader in this age, but in the process, build your confidence to show up more powerfully in your role. I'm your host, Alicia Couri, founder and CEO of Audacious Concepts, Inc., a boutique consulting firm providing audacious solutions to nagging and persistent people issues clogging the revenue pipeline of your organization. From optimizing talent to reducing conflict and improving communication, our brain science, people data tools, and expert coaching help you find the elegant solution to get the job done with more ease and less stress. Now, let's join in on the conversation. Today, I have a special treat. My guest today, I just love her so much. And she is so real and authentic, and she gives you it straight from the heart. And I want to introduce her with her bio, and then she's going to just dazzle us. But before I read her bio, I just want to say, because this show is called Leading with Audacious Confidence, we want to give you the tips to be confident in what you're doing. And she has a story of burnout, and this is what we're going to focus on today. We're going to focus on how to avoid burnout as a driven leader, and she's going to share some of that with us. So Lisa Duerre, and it's Duerre. That is, she always says, because it doesn't spell the way you pronounce it. So it's like jury, like jury. But Lisa Duerre has helped over 25,000 employees get faster results at work, make a bigger impact, and be better business leaders. Her favorite part of it all is the end result of each of these leaders creating a more meaningful connection between work and life in the process, so they are present for the moments that matter. In 2017, she Ctrl+Alt+Deleted her corporate executive role to work with leaders in tech all over the world. Prior to that, she was leading highly successful teams and exceeding business objectives in the areas of talent development, field engineering, customer education, and support, sales development, and marketing inside organizations for 25 years. This gave her a front row seat to see some of the most professionally successful tech leaders absolutely flame out in their careers, relationships, health, and life. And this was almost her story. She almost became a statistic herself, and we're going to talk about that. But Lisa is on a mission to show leaders the way to lead with their head and heart. This integration is what fires her up. She advises and coaches leaders on how to get kick-ass results, build high-performing teams, and be present for the moments that matter. Clients getting these kinds of results is what makes Lisa say, hell yeah, dude. I mean, I hear her say, dude, when we're in a coaching session, she's like, dude. And then when she yells, dude, you know that you're getting it. So she just loves that each and every time. So welcome to the show, Lisa.
Alicia, it's so interesting to hear you talk about me in a third person, right? Like, thank you for having me. I am honored. I am lit up and on fire, and I'm sure I'm going to say dude today. So just for anyone listening, dude has no gender connotation. It would be like awesome or snap or anything else that I might age myself with right now. But dude is like, dude. So yes, I'm excited to have that conversation today.
Excellent. And I talked about you almost being one of those flame outs that you experienced burnout. And this is why I wanted you to talk on this topic, because it's something that you've experienced. And I want people to understand what those symptoms are leading up to it before they get there. to where you were. So before we get to the symptoms, just share with everyone what you were leading, where you were at that time, and, where you ended up, basically, which is in the hospital.
Mm, right. Yeah. It's interesting. I like to tell the story from the middle because I think the middle is where we tend to not pay attention. It's the messy middle, right? Because you're just all in it. But yes, I was in the hospital. Let me back up. So just picture this. You get a phone call. You're my husband. You get the phone call. Hey, honey, I'm in the emergency room. Oh, everything's okay. I think I might be having a heart attack and I have this presentation due tomorrow. So I brought my laptop. You stay home with our daughter. It's all going to be fine. Right? Like, that's a phone call I made. I made this phone call, right? Like, what?
I think I'm having a heart attack, but it's all cool. Don't worry about it.
I got the laptop, right? Keep our daughter safe. At the time, she was 2. A colleague of mine actually drove me to the hospital because we were working late. It was around 7:00 at night at the time when it all started. I had this radiating pain up my arm and into my neck. And I thought, women die of heart attacks all the time. I don't even know if this is I started Googling heart attack symptoms. And then I just thought, if you're Googling heart attack symptoms, you might want to go to the emergency room. I don't know, right? Like, so I lean over, open
Dr.
my
Google,
door.
right? Dr.
Dr.
Google.
Google. Yep. Open my door, lean out. Hey, I'm going to make my way over to the emergency room real quick. Just want to check something out, but I got my laptop. We're going to get this done. I'll be back. And my colleague's like, why are you going to the emergency room? I know I'm not supposed to ask medical questions, but I need to know, like, are you okay? Well, I think I might be having a heart attack. My colleague's like, okay. Because listen, if you're that on the verge of burnout, your colleagues already know. FYI. He's like, here's the deal. I don't want you killing someone on your way to the hospital. You don't need that on top of this. So I'm going to drive you and I'll bring my laptop. So she drove me and we went.
Okay. Can I just pause you for a second? Because you're a driven leader. The attitude is always, I need to get it done. I have to get the work done. You're secondary. What you're going through is secondary. It's all going to be fine. Don't worry about me. You're not even worried about you, even though you're headed to the emergency room. You're like, I still got to get the work done. So, red flag, if you are so hyper-focused on getting the work done because you have a presentation, but you're on your way to the emergency room, that's a big red flag.
It's a huge red flag. And honestly, Alicia, even in it, I didn't see it. This is why I want to start in the middle. Right? I can tell you how we got there and I can tell you what I did after, but that was a compelling moment in time. The signs and symptoms are your colleagues already know what's happening and they're just waiting for you to ask for help or a drive to the emergency room.
A drive to the emergency room.
Your family already knows it's happening. And so when you make that phone call, they already know, like, I can't talk you out of this. You're not going to listen to me anyway. You're so, you've got it all together. So my husband's literally like, I'm going to go get a babysitter and I'm going to make my way to the emergency. I'm not going to tell Lisa this though. Because she's going to say, no. Right. So she's like,
going to say, I'm fine.
Yep.
It's all good.
Take care of it anyway. My colleague's like, holy crap, we're finally here. I got to do something. Right. And I'm worried, like, this presentation must happen. I don't think, who else could do it? Who can I delegate it to? Where can I ask for help? Is it really that important? Is it really that important? Like, talk about being present for the moments that matter. It was just like, it's on me. I'm responsible. You can count on me. Right. So the crazy thing was they ruled out a heart attack. It took like 5 hours. I finished the presentation. I was very proud of this. It was about midnight when I decided I should probably tell my boss because he hadn't seen the final draft in his email and I knew he was up. So I snapped a picture in the hospital of me and my colleague with my laptop as a moment of pride and said, hey boss, just want to let you know that the reason it's not in your inbox yet is I've kind of had this little thing going on over here. We're good. No heart attack. I'll be there at 9, right? Here's the deck. I'll be there at 9 here. Not, hey, can you present for me? Or, I might be tired. Nope. You can count on me. So the picture at the time, I actually was so proud. This is another symptom, right? So proud. You can count on me. as a leader, I think one of the things that we really need to start reassessing is the BS that comes with "you can count on me" as a badge of like loyalty and, performance,
Pride and honor.
productivity,
Look
all of
at
it.
all the work that I've done. Oh
I
my.
mean, look at my face right now. Hopefully on video you can see the ridiculous face I'm making because it is such BS
Yes,
and
right.
it's not healthy. It's not healthy. And I'm glad I took the picture so I could remember. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm horrified that I took the picture, that I was that far off the track of what matters most right now. So I never want to forget that. So thank you for letting me presence that. But I'll get to the punchline. What really happened? Like the doctors couldn't figure it out. And they were like, I think you're fine. Go home. My husband did not come to the hospital because I knew, I'm like, he's going to get a babysitter. I need to get this presentation done. Stay home. I got this. Right. So talk about the pull and the push in your relationship. Did the presentation, went to the follow-up appointment. The doctor said to me, my primary care doctor,
Mm-hmm.
Lisa, you have Silicon Valley itis. Now I'm like, I've never heard of
Get
this
out of
before.
here.
I have no bronchitis
Get
and
outta
there's all kinds of itis, but what is silicon? I'm like, what? So he says, this is the number one reason I see people in my office every week. He's like, welcome to tech. Now, I've been in tech for a very long time at that point, probably 18 years, 17, 18, I can't remember. 17, 18 years ish. And I didn't believe him.
Wow.
And what had really happened was I had taken like a third round of antibiotics because I had had chronic bronchitis. So I was coughing so much. I was worried about presenting my slide deck. So I asked for some antibiotics. This is like, now my primary care doctor did not give me those antibiotics. The on-call doctor did, and didn't check my records to see that I might have a reaction to this. So what had happened was I was actually having tendons, muscle pain and tendons rupture, premature, get ready to rupture because of this reaction to this antibiotic.
Wow.
Now, yeah, I mean, that's scary.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was basically trying to manage the fact that I had had bronchitis for so long. So the antibiotics kicked in. I had this weird muscle pain and I paid attention, but he says, you have Silicon Valley itis. The reason you have chronic bronchitis, Lisa, you're not sleeping. You're not eating nutritionally.
Right.
You're
Your
not
immune system is
hydrating.
shot.
You're not moving, right? And he says, tell me about your average day. I'm like, get up at 6, mother as best I can, get to the office, in the car, meetings. Can't find my car when I leave because I don't remember where I parked. The barista at the Starbucks inside my office has my dirty chai ready because why not double whammy that sucker? And then in the afternoon has me ready, right? Like I started like articulating back-to-back meetings and, I don't have enough resources. We don't have enough time. So what I can tell you, Alicia, is that at the end of it all, I ended up taking a medical leave. But my doctor wanted me to take one immediately. And I said no, much like my husband coming to the emergency room. No. We have this big customer event, 4,000 people. I can't let my team down.
I need to be there.
I need to be there. So then we coordinated and then I took it after that event. Then what happened was I kept working. So I'm on a medical leave and I'm on my phone, checking in, making sure everybody's worried about everybody. What are they going to think? They're going to think I'm broken. They won't need me. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. My husband is so mad. He calls my doctor and says, hey, she's still working. So my doctor called me in. And at that point, he said, you're not taking me seriously. And this is life critical. So don't just blow it off that you didn't take the right antibiotic and you think that's all this is, Lisa. This is a massive wake-up call. You are that close to a heart attack. You just didn't have it this time. So let's do what we need and you need to go rest. So I'll tie this to some symptoms if I can, Alicia.
Yeah, please.
One of the things that really people think I'm burnt out and they're really stressed out. Burnout is chronic stress that's unresolved, and the World Health Organization identifies it through this lens. Okay. But here are the symptoms I had. Insomnia. I was probably sleeping 3 or 4 hours a night. I had a 2-year-old at home. She needed me too. Teething and all this fun stuff that goes with it. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So lack of sleep. I had felt that I couldn't remember things anymore. Like, where's my car?
Mm.
So you get foggy brained because you're not sleeping enough and your nutrition and your hydration are off. So I didn't drink a lot of water because I didn't want to stop to walk all the way down the hall to go to the restroom
Mm-hmm.
because my meetings were back to back. I was eating crap food and just, the vending machine was right outside. So I just grabbed something and go. So I wasn't thinking ahead and planning. I was very cynical. And I felt like you, through my story, that everything had to do with I had to get it done. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't trust anybody else to get it done. I didn't think that anybody else was ready to get it done. And I really just felt like the system was against me.
Wow.
And so my mindset was really impacted. And my husband will tell you I was grumpy and weepy, always on my phone, never present for the moments that mattered. Do you know?
Mm.
Um,
Wow.
my relationships were really suffering and my mindset was way off. So
And
I'm happy to go deeper, but I just want to land some of those
yeah.
examples because you don't see it when you're in it, but the people around you can tell you instantly. They're like, yep, you're not yourself. My husband said he didn't even know who I was anymore.
So that was my next question is, should we be asking people, you know, have I changed? Have you noticed a change in me? What have you noticed? Are those
Mhm.
some things that we should be as a leader who is driven, overstressed, overwhelmed? Well, I don't want to say overwhelmed because you won't think you're overwhelmed, but
Well, honestly, I did feel
over,
overwhelmed, but I thought that that was just the
just
norm. I thought that
part of
was
the
part of
course,
the
right?
requirement. Mhm.
That's required. So,
Yep.
but
Yep.
if you find yourself with short tempers and very agitated all the time, and you're working till midnight
Mhm.
most nights, waking up early and getting things done, um, ask people around you if you're a joy to be around.
Right. Well, it's interesting because you got to be careful with the question and who you're asking. But I'll tell you, um, the number one thing you can do is pause. Right. So, yes, you can ask the question, of course. Right. But
Mhm.
listen, my husband and I would fight. He'd be like, why are you so grumpy all the time? Like, do you see what's on my, why, blah, blah,
Yeah,
so it's like how you ask the question, I think matters.
but
And the
you didn't
invitation.
ask the question though. You didn't. He was just telling you. He was telling
Yeah.
you that you
No,
were.
he was just like, yeah, when
He
will
was
this
just
stop?
telling you.
When will you have a vacation? When will things slow down? And I'm like,
Never,
never. I mean, the thing
never.
about tech, always on, never good enough. Where would place you tomorrow? Okay. So your amygdala is in hijack. You
Mm,
never can get to the prefrontal cortex for innovation, creative, or problem solving because you're stuck in safety, right?
mm.
You feel like you're the next part of
You're
the
just
layoff.
reacting. You're reacting.
Always, always. So I think the number one thing that I learned is the power of sleep, a good night's rest. And what I've done since then, and what I try and remember is even there are days right now as a business owner, I could absolutely go into the burnout lane, right? And I have to remind myself, how much am I sleeping? Because when you sleep, it's restorative and you can
Mm-hmm.
actually settle your amygdala enough to where you can have more clear headedness in the morning to tackle the big things, whatever
Mm.
decisions you need to make. But, decision fatigue happens. And as a leader, you're constantly having to decide. And I think one of the biggest shifts once I was rested, and I would sleep sometimes 8 hours a day, drop my daughter off at school, preschool at the time when we were getting her ready for kindergarten. Um, because my medical leave didn't happen right away, like I said. So she'd go to school, I'd go home and crawl right back in bed. And
Mm.
then I would set an alarm and I'd wake up before it was time for her to come back because I
Pick
wanted
up.
her to not
Mm.
miss out. But what I found is that the more I did that, the more I would wake up and go, oh, hey, I actually feel like I'm in my body again,
Mm.
like not on the autopilot. So I would say sleep is everything. So check your sleep. And the first thing someone in burnout's going to say is, I don't have time to sleep. Okay. That's why the medical leave for me happened. But the question I would invite people to think about is, do you have time to sit outside for 10 minutes? Could you give
Mm.
yourself 15 minutes of breathing space? So I'm
Mm.
not going to suggest everyone go take a nap because they won't when they're burnt out. It's like, nope. But what can you do? How might you give your nervous system a break? I
Mm.
think is a really good question.
Yeah, I'm actually reading a book now called The Peak Mind,
Mhm.
about mindfulness practices and how important it is. It's all about attention. What are you paying? How are you paying attention, and what are you paying attention to? So
Yep.
that's great. Yes, she says 12 minutes a day. 12 minutes a day can restore you.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, the
Once you
thing I
start
learned,
practicing.
exactly. And 12 minutes a day is magical. So if, when you think about burnout, it basically means your battery's dead.
Mm,
Like, there's nothing left. So that's why I slept so long. But imagine a world if you gave yourself 12 minutes a day so you never get to where I was. What's
mm-hmm.
possible? Because
Yeah.
we can find 12 minutes a day.
Yeah.
But when you get to where I was, it's 8 hours a
It's
day.
8 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
do you really
mean,
want that? Mm-hmm.
that's how I started my workout routine, because I thought, if I can't give myself 10 minutes in a day, I'm not worthy of me.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
How
Yeah.
if you can't find 10 minutes, that's what I used to, if you can't find 10 minutes to take care of you,
Mm-hmm.
then you're not worthy of yourself. You have to find
Yeah.
it. You have to
Well,
find
yeah. Yeah.
So 12 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, find 12 minutes, and you can check the book. I'll put it in the show notes. It's
That's
The
awesome.
Peak Mind by Amisha Jha. Um, so so you left your corporate, left the corporate world and
Mhm.
started your own business. And like you said earlier, you can get burnt out very
Oh.
easily as a business owner, very easily,
Mhm.
because now you don't have anyone to delegate to. The buck stops with you. you know
Yep.
it's like from the frying pan into the fire. But what I love is that because of your experience, you're dedicated to helping tech leaders in tech recognize these things and help them um, create more balance in their life, for their professional and personal lives. You're not just focused on the professional, because it affects the other. So
Yep.
even though you're not you well, I don't know your entire business. I was going to say, you're not coaching, you're not a life coach, because you're not a life coach, you're a business
I'm not
coach.
a life coach. Yep.
Right,
I'm a
you're a
business
business
advisor.
coach,
Mhm.
but helping them in business helps them focus, have the ability to focus on their life, on their
Mhm.
personal life as well. um, so what are some of, first of all, the trends that you're still seeing happening with leaders when it comes to overwhelm, burnout in tech? What
Mm.
is still happening?
Yeah. Oh, Alicia. Okay. I might well up on this one because I wish it wasn't, but this is why we do what we do. So,
Mhm.
one of the main things I'm seeing consistently across the board, is the lack of creativity as leaders, right? So they're stuck back here.
Mm,
What happens is that right now there's whispers and worries about a recession, and layoffs are already happening in a lot of the startups, right?
mhm.
These
Which
leaders,
is, we're coming out of a pandemic where a lot of people lost their job anyway, and
yep,
now they're losing again because of this
yes.
recession.
So when I think about what's happening when you're not resourced, in other words, you're not hydrated, nutritionally sound, and well, if you haven't slept well,
Mhm.
it's hard to make these tough decisions. And so you go into what I'll call autopilot or reactionary. So what happens is, and I've seen this forever, and we're working very hard with our clients to help them to get back into the prefrontal cortex and then have the innovation and the creativity, because tech is supposed to be innovative, right?
Mhm.
But when it comes to managing people and budgets, the de facto is still layoffs.
Mm.
Right. And so when your de facto is layoff, you're going to have everybody around you worrying, this is what drove me.
Mhm.
Right. I was like, I better be the one doing that presentation.
I
So
cannot, I have to be indispensable. I
exactly.
cannot show any weakness. I
Yep.
cannot, yeah. They
Yeah.
cannot feel like, they have to feel like, if I'm not there, everything's going to crumble because I
Right.
take care of so
Right.
much.
Yes.
Mhm.
And what's crazy about this is, if you're given a team or an organization to lead, and I see this all the way up, I work with C-suite leaders all the time. Um, in my opinion and in my experience, what I still see happening is this giving your power away and not recognizing that the wisdom is in the collective. The world has changed. Like, the wisdom is not just you anymore. The
Mhm.
world is moving too fast. It's way incomprehensible, nonlinear, anxious, brittle. So if you still subscribe to you have to know it all and be it all, this is what's still happening. And this is
You're
the
behind
problem.
the eight ball.
This is the
Mhm.
problem. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's really team dynamics versus individual leadership that
Yeah.
drive innovation, that's driving everything. And you have to be
Yes.
able to rely on the team, not the me.
Yeah. And I'll say this, that because you and I do some amazing work together using one of your instruments, Colby, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you say rely on the team, I think the rely on the team is true. And I believe that at the senior leadership level, the person who is responsible for the care and feeding of that team, you got to be really clear how to get yourself grounded and present and not
Mm-hmm.
burnt out. Because to rely on the team means you have to own your power, claim your power, and then trust and understand that as a team, you're stronger,
Yes.
right? And that I think takes real muscle building. In our world, we call it firm leadership, right? So it's about being flexible, intuitive, resilient, and mindful. That
Mm.
as the leader, when you feel triggered or overwhelmed, or you're getting into the burnout lane like me, that you can pause and then scan your team and figure out who's best suited to take the lead here. It doesn't always have to be me,
Mm-hmm.
because the best leaders, which I was not always, right? I did great work, and I really did a lot for my team to be able to grow them. But at some point, I stopped them because I wanted to make sure I was indispensable,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you know what made me indispensable was when I allowed everybody to shine. I was completely dispensable when I'm on a medical leave. That didn't work.
That did not work too
It didn't
well.
work. I mean, I didn't get, that's not what happened. I went back to work. I stayed for over a year because
Yeah.
what I want, I'll say this too, what I wanted to do was figure out how much of this is me. Because at the time when you're really cynical and burnout, it's everybody else's fault.
Mm-hmm. It's
And so
hard to
I had
take
to
personal
figure out,
responsibility yet.
yeah. So how am I scheduling my time? Where am I delegating? Where am I asking for help? What am I doing outside of work to actually feed my spirit? How might I feed my spirit more at work? So I did a lot of that before, because what I didn't want to do, and I see this, oh my gosh, Alicia, I see this all the time. This place sucks,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm going to leave. Then they go somewhere else. And then
That
a year
place
later,
sucks.
this place sucks. So I'm going to, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a common denominator. And I'm not here to blame the leader. I'm here to invite the leader to look at, where are you giving your power and your voice away?
Mm-hmm.
And what limiting beliefs are you holding about your team? Because much like my colleague, they were just all standing around waiting. When's she going to give us? When's it coming? I can help. And I didn't do that at that point in time.
Not about proactivity. You have to empower them to be proactive.
Yes.
Um, absolutely. So the thing about culture, because you said earlier, the tech culture is this particular way, um, which leads which leads a lot of people, not most, I'd say it leads a lot of people to burnout or on the edge of burnout. And the thing is, it's who decides the culture. That's, you can't default, you can't just say as a default, well, this is how tech is. We have to start redefining what that culture needs to be.
Yep.
It can't be this dog eat dog. We're gonna run you into the ground because there's 100 more like you out there that waiting for an opportunity. I mean, where's the leader that's going to step up and say, not in my organization? That's not going to be our culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it
I
has to be
will.
people focused.
Well, listen, it's happening.
Mm.
I mean, when we look around, people labeled this exodus, right? This that we've been
The great,
experiencing lately, the talent tech problem, the tech, the lack of talent in tech, if I can talk. Oh, I put another T in there for you.
another T,
Okay. Right.
just in
That's
case
like
you
this
didn't.
great resignation, right? And
Right.
I, because of where I land and the way we look at things, I call it the great reboot. This is the Ctrl+Alt+Delete that is happening. People are like, this culture, no, right? Now, I want to circle back if I can to land this. When I said, this place sucks, I'm leaving, this place sucks, I'm leaving, that could come across as me blaming the leader. I am not blaming the leader. I want to be very clear about something. The invitation for that leader is to take their power back. But the message that gets sent across tech is, if you're broken, move aside. We got somebody else, right? That needs to change, because we need to start valuing the humans inside of tech.
Right.
And we need to start valuing the fact that they are full human beings with lives outside of work and that when you support them, they can actually do amazing things. And by the way, when they're disengaged and stuck in place, your tech isn't at risk. Your coding is at risk. When
Yeah.
you think
Like
about,
you said, the creativity is gone.
it's
There's,
gone and they
yeah.
don't care. And
Because,
the thing is, what I see, the thing that really just breaks my heart sometimes is I see this message to the employees that they're broken. Here's another yoga day, right? Here's a
right.
yoga wellness retreat. And then they have these mental health, like recharge days. And if you checked how much email goes on those days, those are really catch up days. That
Mm,
is not, I'm outside in the sunshine taking my 12 minutes. That's, holy crap, now I can catch up.
yeah.
That's not helping.
That's,
Right. So it is a
that's
system
bringing
wide
your laptop
culture.
to the hospital day.
Yes, it is.
That's oh, yeah. Okay. So I can lay here, but still get my work done.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yes.
there needs to be more comprehensive programming when you're saying, okay, we're taking these mental health breaks. It's not about catching up on email or, um, trying to trying to figure out how you can get more work done with nobody watching. So,
Yeah. Right.
yeah,
I even got good. I mean, honestly, I even got good about scheduling my emails so they weren't showing at midnight or 2 a.m. when I was up. I would have everybody get hit around 8 o'clock in the
8 in the
morning.
morning. Yeah,
But it's all just a facade.
yeah,
It's so like the bottom line is you need to upskill and reskill your teams in the world of understanding as leaders how to resource yourself. Because
hmm,
basically what's happening is the demands are exceeding the resources you have within your own existence to do something with. And you need to start having conversations about staffing levels, priorities. I mean, how many times are you not end of lifing a product because the marketing team or the product team thinks, oh, well, then we'll lose our jobs. So we just keep running all these exercises on people and it doesn't even matter. All
mm,
because someone is like, I'm afraid I'm not going to be needed anymore.
hmm,
I think it's about values and culture at a system level. It is not that individual leader's problem. They are part of a bigger. And
yeah,
yes, at the individual level, you can absolutely do your best to protect your group. And at the same time, what does protection really mean? Right?
there's no such thing as safety.
Oh my
Safety is an
gosh.
illusion. Safety is an illusion.
Mhm.
It's not real. And you hear that cliche all the time that you could step out and get hit by a bus. It there is nothing called safety. So the best opportunity you have, like you said, is to upskill and reskill and upskill your people
Yep.
so that their output is um, they're giving you better results and they're also having balance in their life. The work that we do with Colby, you mentioned Colby before, is about understanding your individual strengths and the strengths of the team around you so that you can lean into those. You can
Mhm.
lean into your own strengths and stop putting people in positions that are working against them. So all day long, they're working against their grain, which is harder. It's more stressful. So we want you working with the grain. And then when something comes up on your plate that's against your grain, on your team who has the strengths innately to handle those things so that
Yeah.
you can partner up, buddy up, and get it done faster instead of you trying to grind it, because we always feel we have to grind it through. We can't ask for help because that's a sign of weakness. So we can't.
Mhm.
We're all a team. So we need to understand how the team succeeds. How do we all succeed? So I want to ask, because the work that you're doing is really phenomenal, and the you have a podcast called Ctrl+Alt+Delete. Again, the industry that you're in. It's so
Mhm.
um how can people listen to your podcast, and what is your podcast, the mission of your podcast?
Oh, Alicia, thank you for bringing that up because I think it's a really cool thing when you think about that you can leverage this podcast as a team resource. So I'll say two things. The official name of the podcast is Ctrl+Alt+Delete with Lisa Duerre. From a trademark standpoint, we're not going to trademark Ctrl+Alt+Delete. It's not ours to do. But when it comes with Lisa Duerre, that's the podcast. So if you're searching for it, it's everywhere. YouTube, It's on every podcast platform
Spotify,
whatsoever.
Apple, iTunes.
Spotify, Apple, Amazon. The cool thing is it was rated that one of the top 10 leadership and tech podcasts by BuzzFeed,
Nice.
which is like pretty damn cool when you think about it, right?
Dude, that's a
Dude.
dude moment.
Yeah. And I think here's the thing I want to say as I'm clearing my throat and thinking about this, because I'm getting welled up about it. It started because I was going on LinkedIn live a lot and just talking about what I was seeing in our client base, trying to add value for free. And the podcast is free. But what happened was I'm like, I'm not reaching enough people this way. Right. LinkedIn, this was early on in LinkedIn. I was one of the early LinkedIn livers. And my team said, we needed to make this a podcast. It needs to be digestible for people. So we turned it into a podcast, and we're in season 2 right now. What's really cool about it, the mission of the podcast is I bring on amazing thought leaders and we just have a conversation, much like we're doing right here, where we're keeping it real. We're not going to like give you this academic, never been in your shoes conversation. That's not how this rolls. Right. And if anyone ever comes on my podcast who hasn't been in tech, it's a specific invite for me because of what they're talking about. And then I tie it back in. But here's the coolest thing I would say. I have clients who they get our newsletters and our emails or our blogs, and I'll get these texts. Oh my God, when you said such and such right here, this really resonated, and I played it for my team. So the biggest thing I think for people to know is that you could listen to an episode of the topic of your choice, and then you might even bring it into your team meeting to just open up a conversation. Because if I take it back to what you said, Alicia, earlier, the reason we do this is we want to put it in the hands of everyone. So that if you're struggling with it, it's a safe way to bring something up. If you go, hey, we should try this at work, it's a way for you to engage in a conversation. And the thing that I know is that we used to be in a world where you could be that expert at an individual level. But the world has rapidly changed and grown so exponentially complicated that the real expert is the combination of your team. It's the experiences and the knowledge across the board, back to your points on the different strengths. So I try and pull that through every episode to really make sure that we're coming at it through the lens of the individual and the organization so that we can help move cultures where they need to go based on the leaders self-selecting and bringing it forward. So yeah, it's all about burnout and leadership. And it's, if I could say this, it's not like, oh, let's just hear Lisa talk about her burnout story all the time. We have everyone talk about their burnout story or their overwhelm and what they do to get out of it. So it's very practical. And there's a playlist too of songs to help people, take their energy and keep it with them all the time too, which I love because music helps me recenter and get energized.
I love it. And one day I'll be on the podcast. We'll see.
Oh, you are? You are. Yes. The only reason you haven't been so far, my friend, is my schedule. It has nothing.
Yeah, I know. We've tried to reschedule several times. And
I think it's been at least 2 so far.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting?
It.
But here's what's interesting, Alicia, when we think about it, the level of interest and work that RLD Group is doing has grown so much that I've had to reschedule podcast episodes. So on one hand, I'm like, that's awesome. And then on the other hand, I'm like, man, I can't wait to have you on there. So it's that, and this could lead to burnout too, of just shame and like, how come I haven't done it yet? And instead I just celebrate that our relationship is where it is and that we know it's going to happen, because
it's going to happen.
For leaders,
and I'm so glad I got you here, because your schedule is as crazy as mine. And I'm so thankful that I got you on and to say yes. And, I'm going to go into the rapid fire in a moment because we're going to do some fun rapid fire questions. But before we do, I want to just get your take on some of the work that you do. What can leaders really, like, give us a couple really practical things? Because I know you're DISC certified. You also use several different tools to help your clients. But if a leader in tech is listening to this, what are some of the things that they need to look forward to if they're looking to climb the ladder of leadership in tech?
Yeah. Wow. That is an awesome question. Okay. So I would say I'll just use our model. So RLD Group's model is I, we, us. And I'm going to just land that for everybody. I is that as a leader, you have to know your own triggers, your own strengths, what energizes you, what takes your energy away, what do you enjoy doing, where do you hold yourself back. You have to start with I to be able to then inspire and lead and even join in a relationship with someone else or your team, which is we.
And
right?
can I just say, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the I is not a selfish I. It is so important. It is so important for us to know ourselves. In fact, my 7 steps to audacious confidence starts with know yourself and love yourself. You have to know the good, the bad, the ugly. You have to get it all out, and especially what's holding you back. If you're trying to elevate in leadership, you need to know why you're holding yourself back, because we hold ourselves back. So
all the time.
Yeah. We'll go on to
so this is why we resonate. So I know yourself. We is your team, right? So once you know yourself and you understand, what you're motivated by and what pisses you off, where you're triggered, we go through so much about personal power. We look at mindset. We help you figure out politics and how you show up, because most leaders in tech don't want to play politics, but yet they are in a political system. So then how do you figure that out? So then we get to we. And we is how to look at your team overall, your goals, your objectives, your KPIs, your OKRs, and how do you lead that through who you are as the leader and what does your team bring so that you're stronger together. And then the us is at the organizational level, which then bleeds into your customers, community, and your family. So as you're going up in your career, as you are leading, you have to go back to I, we, us every time. So it's just an infinite loop, because the higher up you go, the larger your scope, the bigger your span, and the more complicated things can be. So you got to get right back in, because each time you go up, it's like, yes, I've got it. And then all of a sudden, oh crap, am I going to pull it all? Do I really know what I'm doing? Is this going to be okay?
Imposter syndrome and everything else.
Every dang time. And the thing that I see organizations failing their leaders at is they promote them and they don't support them with that transition. They do not support them. Well, you got there, you must know how to do it. Keep on going. No, you got to go back to I, we, us. You have to circle back, right? So, and in tech, specifically in tech, I can speak to that. They'll take leaders who are brilliant from an engineering standpoint, off the charts, Alicia, nobody can compare. And they get rewarded and recognized for that so much. And then somebody says, well, you should go lead a team. And that engineer who's been rewarded and recognized, for their, PhD in, electrical engineering, all of a sudden now is responsible for people. When you say it out loud, it's ridiculous to think that they are equipped and attuned to figure out how do you inspire, motivate, and support the people to then elevate, because your de facto is going to be technical skills. That is not going to help you retain, engage, and get the best out of your people.
Not at all. And I will say this again, from a Kolbe perspective, a lot of times they take them out of their zone of genius, out of their brilliance, and puts them in a situation where they're not in their zone of genius. And so the brilliance that was showing up over here, they expect it to show up. Now I've given you people to lead and they put you over here, and then it's not showing up over here. And then they're like, well, what happened to you? Well, what happened to you is you pulled me out of, let's say, they were an implementer, a very, very strong implementor, not implementer, where they built programs and they were very good at the technical stuff and building and creating and
writing all the code and coming up with
those things together. And then you're putting them in a situation where now they have to do a lot of paperwork and they have to follow KPIs and they have to follow all this stuff. And now you're taking them from that implementer mode and putting them into a follow through mode when that's not their strength. And then you're wondering, well, what happened to you? Because like you said, they're not supporting that. Yeah, we gave you a what do you call it? A promotion. But we just like let the net from underneath you, like go on the high wire, no net.
Every time. And then what happens is that leader has so much shame and self-doubt, because listen, the minute you rise to go back and ask. You're right.
I'm not supposed to.
No, you're never going to go back.
I'm not supposed to ask. I'm supposed to be born knowing what to do here.
Well, yeah. And you're going to go back and go, well, I've always been recognized for my awesomeness. And now I feel like I suck at everything I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like that technical leader doesn't want to talk to the engineer whose sales team is complaining because of the body odor. They don't want to talk about that. But guess what? As a people leader, you're going to have to address that, right? Or
and that's where conflict and all kinds of stuff start coming
I'm
up.
giving you the most simplest thing that happens all the time, right? This is a conversation that has to be had. It's very important. It's high stakes. And that implementor, if you will, the person who loves writing the code, who now has to handle the leadership.
And they're an introvert and they're all kinds of stuff. And
yeah. And then where I really see it fail. So that's like a basic example, Alicia, but let's take it one level further. You're hiring at the VP, senior VP level from someone from the outside. You've spent thousands upon thousands of man hours searching. You've spent hundreds of thousands on, talent recruiting fees. And you bring the person in and then you give them no support. Well, you're that level. You should figure it out. And that new person's not going to be like, well, what are the unspoken rules here? And what are the strengths on my team? And what happened before? And how might I accelerate? And is there someone who could mentor me? No, because I've got the title, right? It is irresponsible. It is negligible. Is that a word? Yes, negligible. Yes. And you know what else? You wanted to be always on, never good enough, we'll replace you tomorrow. Bring in someone at the senior level and don't support their assimilation.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like a baby now learning to stand and you move all the furniture for them to support themselves on, right? It's like, oh, you could stand. You move the table, you move the desk, go, walk, let's see you. You don't do that.
And here's the thing. I don't think this is malicious.
They just don't know.
They're in back-to-back meetings all day and they're like, thank God I filled that rec. Next. It's not, how do we help this person really hit a home run? It's, I have too much pressure, no time to reflect. I'm not taking my 12 minutes. I've got my third round of bronchitis. There's other things going on in the world. I'm preoccupied, and any 12 minutes I have, I'm doom scrolling. I'm not thinking about onboarding and helping someone really thrive when they're new on the team. That's what's happening.
This is such a fascinating conversation. I'm so sad. I'm bummed that I'm going to have to wrap it up, but we're going to do a couple fun things. I'm going to throw some rapid fire questions at you, and then we're going to wrap this up. So first of all, first question, what was the biggest leadership mistake that you ever made or was a victim of?
That's a rapid fire question. My God. Okay. Giving my power away.
Giving your power away.
Unconsciously giving my power away and not testing assumptions or questioning things.
Wow. All right. What's the best leadership advice then that you've gotten that you still implement today?
Set your intention before every meeting.
And we did that before this. You asked me that. Yeah. Okay. This is a fun one. If you were a castaway on a deserted island, what are 3 things that you hope washed up ashore or was airdropped to you, and one of it can't be a cell phone?
Sunscreen. I always worry about sunscreen. Isn't that funny? Okay. I'm getting way too into this. Airdropped or okay.
Or washed up on the beach.
All right. My family.
Okay.
Sunscreen, my family. And I think water. I think it's really about survival.
Fresh water, because you can fish. All
right. I don't know. Maybe that's a boring answer, but those are my answers.
No, that's
music, but yeah.
That's very practical of you.
If I could give one unpractical thing, it would be some sort of way to hear music, because music is my life force, and it's very important to me.
You'll find something to beat drums. Coconut, knock some coconuts together or something. All right, this one always stumps everybody.
Okay.
So if you were a song or a song title, what would it be and why?
Oh, dude, I Am Light, India Arie. 100% every day. I Am Light. Yes.
I Am Light.
It is my vision, my mission, and my calling to bring light and shine light and raise the vibe and help people see what's possible And I am light every day, always. That
I
is
love
my.
it. That didn't stump you one bit.
But again, I'm the music person.
You're
So
the
yeah.
music person.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Final question. What are you reading now? Or what are your top 3 favorite books?
I'm reading The Lymphatic Code. It's a book about your lymph system, and I'm trying to learn more about that because mine's a little sluggish. So I'm trying to learn about my body. I will tell you one of my favorite books. You're gonna crack up because they're all here. I have so many. Oh my God. Can we just do a quick? If I had to pick my top one right now, you can tell how much I love this book. Conversations Worth Having is about bringing light into organizations in every conversation. And it's through the lens of appreciation, which is life-giving for all.
I need to get that one. Okay.
Permission to be Human. I think I've said this millions of times. This is a framework for values at work to bring your highest and best self forward through values and alignment. It's a fabulous book. And then my third is Leading Well from Within. This is about stress management, mindfulness, and all of the amygdala work that I've been talking about and getting to the prefrontal cortex. This is a playbook on how to do that.
I need all those. They're
fabulous. And I think I have 2 podcasts. Unfortunately, Dr. Daniel Friedland is no longer with us, or he was scheduled to be on the podcast, but he's no longer with us. And I send him so much love and gratitude to keep his work alive. But I do have podcast episodes with these other 2 books. So highly recommend checking them out.
I will.
Thank you. Perfect. For asking.
Thank you so much, Lisa. This has been inspiring, encouraging, informative. And any last words that you have to share with our audience? Anything I didn't ask you that you would like to make sure people know?
Oh, Alicia, here's the thing I would like to say. Thank you for having me first. What a fabulous conversation. Thank you for the work that you do to help people really find their audacious confidence, right? Because here's the thing I know. When you're in burnout, you cannot have audacious confidence, period. They're not possible because you have shame and brokenness and not worthy, and everything that you stand for is not found in burnout. So I'm always so grateful that you bring so much life, energy, and insight into what it means to stand in your awesomeness. It's really important for the world. And I think that we can help people with this episode to move closer into your world and what you talk about and out of the world of burnout, because it's the opposite of what you stand for. So thank you for letting me shine a light on that today.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. So I just want to close off just by telling everyone listening and encouraging you to lead yourself, lead your team, and lead your organization. See that we, us. Lead yourself, lead your team, and lead your organization with audacious confidence. Until next time, I will see you. Bye. Mwah, mwah, mwah.